Hi everyone, I'm Aura Lewis, and I'm the author and illustrator of this book, We the People.
Hi everyone, and I'm Evan. I'm the co-author of the book with Aura, and today we're in the Quarto classroom to teach you a little bit about the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah, so Evan, let's dive into talking about the Constitution. Do you want to read a little bit from the introduction?
Yeah, so this is our book. It's called The U.S. Constitution, Explored and Explained. So the original Constitution of the United States was a handwritten document written in ink on parchment paper over 200 years ago. And today it sits in a protective glass box in a museum. So it's a really old legal document, and even adults find it very hard to read and understand. So it's really not an easy read. It has old-fashioned terms and some of the longest sentences you'll ever see. So in our book, you won't find the full text of the Constitution. There wouldn't even be enough room on all the pages to fit it in. But what we've done is we're pulling out some interesting parts and we're explaining for you the kind of basics of the Constitution and the things that are really relevant to our lives as we the people today. So the Constitution really outlines all the basic fundamental laws and principles of our government. People today in law and politics still reference the Constitution and debate the Constitution every day. It's a living document, and it was designed and written to continue to be a living document and to be reinterpreted year after year, and that has definitely happened. The Constitution was written supposedly for all people who live in the US, but we look at the Constitution very critically because it was actually written by a small number of white men in power at the time. So we have to read it very critically. And, we believe that if the Constitution is truly for all of us, it should be freed from the glass box in the museum, and we should all be able to access it, understand it, pick it apart, debate it, all of that. So our book is an exploration of the Constitution. And in this day and this time of major change in our country, we want this book to inspire you to take action in your community around things you believe in, to question things, question the systems that we live in, and really get involved and make a difference.
So Evan, do you know when the Constitution was even written? So it was written a really long time ago. And it was written in secret in 1787. So that's like, yeah,
Wow.
That's a really long time ago.
Absolutely. And it was written in secret in a convention with guards at the door. And in 1788 is when it was formally ratified. And that means it was formally agreed upon by 9 states that needed to agree to put the Constitution into action. So Aura, how many people actually signed the Constitution?
So actually only 39 people signed the Constitution, and they came from 12 states. So back then the United States didn't have 50 states like it does today. It had much fewer states. And yeah, so it's interesting.
So the first part of the Constitution is called the Preamble. And if there are any words from the Constitution that you may know that will sound familiar, and there are a few things that are known, it's the beginning of the Preamble. So the we the people, if you've heard anyone say we the people, that comes straight quoted out of the US Constitution. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. So it's pretty powerful stuff, even though there are a lot of big words in there and it's not the most digestible piece of text. In our book here, we break down the preamble for you so you can really learn exactly what that means. And it's very beautiful and very important.
So what comes after the preamble? We have...
So after the preamble, the first part of the Constitution is broken into 7 articles, and these articles are the first part of the Constitution. We'll talk more later about how the rest of the Constitution is actually things that were added later. So the original 7 articles really set the foundation for the structure of the government that we have today in our country. And one thing that is written in the first article of the 7 articles in the Constitution is about how a law is made. And this is really something really interesting that not everyone knows, is that truly any citizen can propose a new law.
You mean anyone? Truly anyone?
Anyone can propose a new law.
Incredible.
It could be the president, it could be your little sister. And the way it works, it starts with, someone needs to present an idea to their local congressperson. So let's say your little sister wants to make a new law that that all schools should have free lunches. This is, exists in some communities and not others. The first thing she would need to do is to present this idea to her local congressperson. If they think that's an awesome idea and they want to make it happen, they will have it written as a proper legal bill, and then they will introduce it to the House of Representatives. And from there, it goes through a very long series of steps, and you can read more about that in our book. It's a complicated process, and that's by design, so that it's not too easy to make a law. It has to go through all the different branches of government, and but it can start with any citizen. And so really anyone can get involved in their community, in the political system, and make change. And we think that is really important to know and really amazing. So Aura, I want to ask you a question about the president, because the Article 2 is all about the president. So how many presidents have served in the United States?
Oh, okay. So actually, only 44 presidents have served in the United States so far. So we are having an upcoming election, or if you watch this after, then it will be another president. But so far 44. But Donald Trump, the current president, is the 45th. Why? Because Grover Cleveland was both the 22nd president and the 24th president. He was the only one who served for 2 non-consecutive terms. So that's super interesting. So he actually served twice.
Wow. I'm just going to close my window. There's a loud noise out there. Okay.
Hey, Evan, do you know how old you need to be to become a president? Like, can a teenager become a president, or I don't know, anyone?
No, you have to be a certain age. You have to be 35 years old to be president. Do you think that's fair?
I don't know if I think that's fair. Why 35? Why do you think it's 35? Do you think that they're more mature? Do you think a president needs to be mature?
I'm not sure. I'd love to hear from people younger than 35 and hear what they think about that.
Yeah, I know some very mature people who are younger than 35.
Absolutely.
But did you know who the youngest president to ever be elected was?
The youngest president to ever be elected was actually the 35th president, JFK, John F. Kennedy, and he was 43.
The 43rd president. Oh, wait, he was 43. He was the 35th president.
Sorry. He was the 35th president, and he was 43 years old. And do you know who the oldest president was? so far?
Let's see. So far, the oldest president was Ronald Reagan, who was the 40th president, and he was elected at 73.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So the next part of the Constitution is called the Bill of Rights. So we mentioned that, the Constitution can be changed. And I mentioned that a lot of the Constitution is actually parts that were added later. So actually very soon after the 7 first articles were written, the first 10 changes were made. They're called amendments. So the first 10 amendments have a name, and it's called the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights is the first 10 amendments. I mentioned there's a lot of debate around the Constitution, and there's a big debate around the Bill of Rights that we wanted to share with you. So, we want to give you sort of 2 viewpoints on the Bill of Rights in general. Just as a little bit of intro, the Bill of Rights is very much about our rights. What rights do we have as people? And it really breaks that down. So we'll get into that. But one viewpoint is that the Bill of Rights holds a high standard that we can aspire to. The Bill of Rights allows us to have continuous forward movement towards equality, something we still don't have today in the US.
Another viewpoint says that the Bill of Rights is all about human rights, but it didn't count Native Americans as citizens when it first came out. Also, slavery was still legal when it was written. This is total hypocrisy, and the Bill of Rights is too flawed and biased to ever truly protect the people. So even though it is, thinking about rights for all people, it wasn't including all people in these rights, which is a big problem.
Exactly. And again, we just have to read all of these things critically. And, some people say, scrap it, we need something entirely new. Other people say that we should be building towards meeting the standards that were set in these early documents.
So do you think we can understand the Bill of Rights in a broader way today, even though originally it wasn't written that way?
I believe that we can, absolutely, and that we can evolve the interpretations and keep amending the Constitution. That's another big thing. We don't amend the Constitution that often, and so that's another debate. Should it be a little easier to amend the Constitution? If you do some research and think about the Constitution, what do you think is missing? What would you add? What would you change? The Constitution should be a living document. And so I believe that we should be able to make it work, keep changing it, keep making it better for equity for all people.
Right. So even though it's like a really historical document, as we've seen, it was written so long ago, it still can be really relevant today for all of us, if, depending how we read it and interpret it and keep adding to it. So what are some of the rights in the Bill of Rights?
So the Bill of Rights talks about, it goes into a lot of different things. We'll just give you a little bit of an overview. It talks about, the very first amendment is chock full of rights. It talks about freedom of speech, freedom of the press, the right for newspapers and media websites to print the truth, freedom of religion, the right to petition, and the right of the people to peaceably assemble. These are incredibly important rights that we have and that should be upheld. The Bill of Rights also talks about about guns, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is one of the most controversial amendments, and many people have manipulated this amendment for different political gains. It's a whole world of research and things to learn about the Second Amendment. We have a lot of, some of the things in the Constitution are sort of old-fashioned now. So there's an amendment about, the right to not have to let a soldier come stay in your house. So we haven't had to use that amendment in a long time. That's from an old thing that would happen, during a very specific time. But that is part of the Bill of Rights. There is the Fifth Amendment is all about your rights and our rights if we are accused of a crime. So the right to have an attorney, innocent until proven guilty, you may have heard of, a very important piece of our federal laws, that we're innocent until proven guilty. The right, more about when someone is accused of a crime, the right to a lawyer, the right to a speedy and public trial, the right to have a jury on a case. So the Bill of Rights is really chock full of really, really fantastic and fascinating and important, foundations to what the people who wrote these documents at the time wanted to set as the foundation of our country and of the rights that we would have.
And then after the Bill of Rights, there's a whole other section to the Constitution.
So the third, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So the third part of the Constitution and of our book is just basically the rest of the amendments. So you have the original 7 articles, the 10 amendments for the Bill of Rights, and then the rest of the amendments which have been added over time. We have, those include all kinds of things.
They include a lot of things to do with voting, right? Who can vote in elections? Absolutely.
The right, women's right to vote is an amendment. The initial ending of slavery is an amendment when Lincoln made a law that slavery would be abolished. That's the 15th Amendment, and that's also very important to look at very critically. Slavery didn't really end at that time. And I'm sorry, it was the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment was the abolition of slavery, and that was very complicated at the time, and continues to be today. And so you can learn a lot more about that. So to wrap up, we just want to talk again about action, activism, getting involved politically. We mentioned that anyone can propose a law. This is just fantastic. If you've ever watched or listened to the soundtrack of Hamilton, it's these guys who were young and they were sitting around in New York City creating a government and coming up with all of this stuff. And when you watch that or listen to the soundtrack, you can feel how it was exciting. Like, that was exciting. And so we're in a moment too where we can be angry and we can take action from our anger about how some things are right now. And we can also get excited and get together and have a party and write postcards to senators, or think about what kinds of laws and policies we would like to change in our state or in our country, and knock on doors for candidates, and there's so much you can do, and it can be really exciting. And so we want to just share that with you.
Did
That
you know, Evan, that you can even write an email directly to the president?
Wow, you can write
Yeah.
an email directly to the president. You can get together with your friends and just send a bunch of emails to the president. There's so much that we can do, and it's really, we have a responsibility to as citizens, and it doesn't always feel like the easiest thing, but it actually can be very empowering and very life-changing to just make that decision, to just do something, just to get involved, to use your skills and your talents towards making change that you would like to see in the world.
And yeah, so there's so much more in our book, and we can't cover everything, but yeah, there's lots of like fun details and facts and questions you can look through. And in the end of the book, we actually have a fun search and find section. So you can look back and find all kinds of fun things to, yeah, lots of things to look for. And another whole section about what else you can read if you're interested to learn more about politics and activism and diversity and all kinds of issues like that. And thank you so much for watching, everyone. You
Thank you
can
so
purchase
much.
We the People wherever books are sold, online, in stores. And please share your project on social media by tagging us or Lewis and Evan Sargent and Quarto Classroom. Thanks so much again. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.